Abbas Kiarostami's 1990 documentary drama hybrid Close-Up tells of a man pretending to be his favorite filmmaker, famous director named Makhmalbaf. And presiding within this false persona, this man, Sabzian, manipulates those around him, leading them to believe that he is a rich and famous director with inspiring works under his belt. Our protagonist's charade does not last long, though, and our pseudo-makhmalbaf is charged with fraud and accused of intending to burgle those manipulated. At face value, this seems to hold at least some intrigue and a somewhat entertaining story, but upon further glance, this is truly an examination of art as a universal pillar in society and gazes into the soul of humanity and what truly defines one's identity. Now, to truly understand this film, we must define two things: art and identity. In order to properly sum up these two in terms of criteria, the words of the revolutionary filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky come to mind. In an interview, Tarkovsky was asked, "What is art?" To which he responded, "A declaration of love, the consciousness of our dependence on each other, a confession, an unconscious act that nonetheless reflects the true meaning of life." Now, in other words, it's pretty much a truthful pouring out of one's soul in any effective medium that relates to the human experience. In relation to identity, Tarkovsky is quoted as saying, "Of course an artist can lose his way, but even his mistakes are interesting, provided they are sincere, for they represent the reality of his inner life, of the peregrinations and struggle into which the external world has thrown him." This actually directly correlates to the content of the film, as Sabzian believes that his directorial masquerade is a means to represent the reality of his inner life. Taking these definitions into account allows us to understand Sabzian, a seemingly misunderstood man, needing an outlet for his overflowing creative ability. At this point, the question Kiarostami indirectly plants in the audience's mind is, was Sabzian justified? I mean, greed could have easily been a motive for our protagonist's fraudulent endeavors, and consequences in that case would have been justified. But instead of simply accepting that this man acted out of greed, we are introduced to this profound idea that Sabzian's life is defined by film, and that his performance as Mr. Makhmalbaf was simply a declaration of love spawned from the peregrinations and struggle into which the external world has thrown him. With this being said, I in no way believe that Kiarostami was justifying fraud. He's simply giving a man a chance to showcase that there are several layers to his predicament. Visual symbolism helps illustrate this perfectly in this scene. Now, this scene consists of a friend of the manipulated family whose name is Mohseni, and he walks up to this window to get a better look at what is happening to Sabzian. And as he walks up and pulls the blinds away, Sabzian's true identity is finally confirmed. But masterfully, Mohseni and the audience's view of Sabzian is still obscured, as his true identity still is not clear. Later on in the courtroom scenes, when Sabzian is being interrogated, it is speculated as to whether or not he is still acting. Film is so ingrained in his character that he has a difficult time separating himself from it. He does not see himself as a fraud, but rather an artist with determination, and it is only from his genuineness that we see his confession. No matter what came of this situation, our protagonist's determination and artistic motivation are undoubtedly worthy at their core. Now it is left up to the viewer to decide whether or not they think that Sabzian was guilty or innocent. But in an orderly, Kiarostamian fashion, a challenge is presented to the viewer. This challenge being, are you really doing all you can to pursue your passion? Are you determined?